Good evening. I'm Erin Hinson. I'm with the Long Range Planning Team. Um, you have joined the South Outer Room, so if that area is of interest to you, welcome. And even if you just want to listen, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But great, looks like you're in the right room. Okay, awesome. I'll give it one more minute just to see if anybody else hops on. But if not, we'll go ahead and proceed for the sake of time and out of respect for your time. And we will just proceed with a few slides. It's just a high-level overview of the community area planning process and then the South Outer plan in a little bit more detail. And then I'll open it up for any questions or concerns that you all want to discuss today. So it looks like we also had Anne join us. Welcome, everybody. I guess it's 6:04, so we'll go ahead and get started. And then if anybody else joins, we will fill them in afterwards. Okay, we have a few people. Awesome. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started for the sake of time. So again, my name is Erin Hinson, and I'm on the Long Range Planning Team. We thank you for joining our webinar this evening. We're here to discuss the community area plan process and the South Outer plan specifically in a little bit more detail. So great, if that area is of interest to you, we're happy to chat in more detail about the plan with you. So I'll just go ahead and kick it off with some slides and then we'll chat afterwards. So again, we're here to walk through the South Outer community this evening and discuss how it may impact you and your communities. So I'll open up with a brief overview of the document, and then, like I said, we'll just go back and forth. We have a small enough group, we can just have an informal conversation. So, the reason for developing the community area plans is Charlotte has been continuously growing for decades, and that growth is projected to continue. So in response to that projected growth, our city has adopted the Charlotte Future 2040 Comprehensive Plan in 2021, which defines our 20-year vision for growth and change in Charlotte. So the plan essentially calls for future growth to benefit as many people as possible. So while the comprehensive plan provides the broader vision for our community, there are other levels of guidance that are needed to make that vision come to life. So what you see on the screen here is the planning framework that was adopted within the comprehensive plan, and it really identifies the subsequent levels of guidance that are needed to achieve this overarching vision. So level 2 on the screen is what we call strategic plans, and those are citywide documents that provide more details than the comprehensive plan vision does, on particular topics. So for example, the strategic mobility plan, it may provide more guidance on how to realize the goal of creating safe and equitable mobility choices. So just more detail, than those overarching goals. And then level 3 is what we're discussing today. So the community area plans, and those provide more guidance for the appropriate land uses, building form, and infrastructure that's needed throughout the plan geography. And then level 4 is specific plans. So those focus on smaller geographies and provide more guidance for implementation for specific projects. So it's important to note that levels 2 through 4 all build upon the comprehensive goals and the visions outlined in that plan. So community area plans are essentially about creating complete communities, which means creating places that integrate housing, jobs, daily goods and services, and things of that sort in an accessible manner. Oh, excuse me. So the community area plans, those were developed with a five-phase process that has occurred over 2 years. So staff has offered multiple engagement opportunities in each phase, and the outcomes of each phase have been shared along the way.
Continuously growing for decades and it's projected.
So this slide summarizes the engagement efforts that have occurred from the beginning of the effort. So phase 1 through phase 4, we've reached over 400,000 residents, both online and in person, using a range of constant and coordinated tactics. And this includes things like social media, website, online content, things like story videos, everything of that sort. And while virtual interactions are, great, and they were a huge part of our reach, we really still value the in-person interactions that we were able to, connect with. And we were able to connect with over 6,000 people throughout the 4 phases. So for this planning effort particularly, we hosted 50 workshops in which we asked residents to join us at meetings, but we also did a lot to make sure that we were also meeting residents, where they already are. So we attended a lot of events, a lot of festivals. We went to a lot of libraries, and you can see our geographic dispersion of the in-person interactions on the map to the right of the screen. So, with all of that engagement, we were able to receive approximately 1,700 comments that really helped shape these draft plans. So the plans were developed using a systematic process, meaning they were developed the same way and they'll have the same components and formats within them. And while they were developed systematically, each of the plans still include unique content that reflects the individual character of that geography, as well as some new policy guidance that helps achieve the vision. So some of the information is similar across all 14 plans, while other parts of the document is tailored to that specific geography. So these plans provide a common set of considerations for all decision makers to ensure that we're consistently evaluating options in line with the city's vision. And over time, these considerations will help ensure growth is accommodated in a way that respects established neighborhoods, aligns growth with our infrastructure capacity, and creates vibrant mixed-use centers for all. So this is the table of contents within the South Outer Community Area Plan. And if you look at other plans, you'll see the same content and organization, like I mentioned on the last slide, but different material within each plan in certain areas. So I'll keep the table of contents up throughout these next few slides for reference, but we'll talk about what's specific to South Outer today. So each plan begins with an overview of the area's profile. This includes a summary of projected residential units, new jobs, as well as a comparison of local demographics to citywide demographics. The next chapter outlines the geography's greatest needs and prioritized goals. These needs are focused on increasing access to housing choices, job opportunities, daily goods and services, and reducing environmental impacts. The plans focus on these 4 needs because these 4 metrics are identified in the comprehensive plan as paramount for ensuring future growth benefits as many people as possible. So the 10 comprehensive plan goals were linked to these 4 metrics, and if a metric scored less than 5, the associated goals were identified as priorities for the geography. So the caveat here is that all the goals are important, but this prioritized list will help prioritize dollars and resources. Chapter 4 focuses on recommended development patterns for the geography via the 2020 policy map. So the colors in this map relate to the types and intensity of development that's appropriate within this area. So to learn more about the colors on the policy map, you can see the place type descriptions, and it's in Appendix A, and that kind of goes into more details about the place types and what they mean. It's important to note that the plans recommend a large portion of the geography remain as is. So if redevelopment occurs in these areas, then new development should match the scale and intensity of the development on the ground today. So that's something to note. This plan specifically recommends that 20% evolve into a different type of development than what exists today. So this targeted amount of change will help accommodate our projected growth in a way that respects neighborhoods, pairs growth with infrastructure capacity, and creates mixed-use centers, which will help increase access across Charlotte. Other pages in Chapter 4, they just explain how the recommended change helps to advance the geography's priority goals and address their greatest needs. So Chapter 5 of the plan document is called Supporting the Vision, and this includes 5 sections and references the neighborhood toolkit. So the neighborhood toolkit is something that we wanted to highlight tonight. It's included within the appendix because it's a reference for all geographies. But it's kind of a cool tool, so it catalogs all of the programs that currently are available to residents to help address their needs. So the intent is that it can be a resource to empower neighborhoods that want to take any kind of action. So for example, the toolkit outlines existing programs that neighborhoods could tap into to create common open space or create a neighborhood park or something of that sort. So it really just outlines the resources that are available for residents of Charlotte today.
The plans,
The mobility section was developed in coordination with CDOT, CATS, and CRTPO. It restates that Goal 5, safe and equitable mobility, is important across Charlotte. It includes a clip of the citywide streets map, which outlines the future cross sections for arterial streets in Charlotte, and then smaller streets are informed by the UDO regulations. And it also summarizes the citywide strategic mobility plan, and it highlights strategic investment areas within the geography. So again, the strategic mobility plan is part of that level 2 guidance that outlines the city's mobility policies. And SIA is a citywide investment strategy that maximizes the city's limited investment dollars in an efficient and impactful manner. So next, the mobility section, it includes a new level of guidance called the mobility assessment. So this assessment evaluates how well our future mixed-use places are meeting our aspirations as outlined in the place type descriptions. So these assets should be used by all stakeholders, whether it's a resident, developer, city official, all stakeholders, to inform future development and infrastructure projects within these areas. For example, if a developer wants to rezone a site within one of these mixed-use locations, they should use this assessment to propose a project that improves conditions. And similarly, if community members wanted to, or community members could use it to evaluate a proposed project against the assessment, so they can determine, if the project is contributing to the area's aspirations or not by using that assessment. The open space and community character chapters, they're also included in these plans. They include similar assessments because open space and character are important components of place type aspirations. But for the sake of time, we're not going to share details on those in these slides tonight, but we can absolutely navigate to them in the online documents if anybody has questions or wants to look at them together in more detail once we wrap up this presentation. So the next section in the plans is environmental justice and sustainability, and it really builds upon the comprehensive plan's vision to reduce environmental impacts across Charlotte. So it provides more detailed analysis of the environmental impacts within the plan geography that are shown, or as shown in the assessment dials at the top of your screen here. It also introduces heat impacts as a new environmental metric that should be considered in future decision making. There's also an implementation section in the plan which provides additional specific strategies for various partners and agencies to advance this work and contain illustrative concepts that provide visualizations for how areas are recommended for changes and how they may evolve over time. So that's all in the implementation section, which is part of the document. And then there's also a program guide and an appendix available for your review that houses additional background information that supports the context of these plans.
It restates that goal 5, which is
so a few notes for after adoption.
It includes a clip.
Sorry, I'm seeing in the chat. You guys are hearing feedback? I'm so sorry. We're all in one office.
And then
I'm trying to talk louder. I really apologize for that. So a few notes for after adoption. First, the plans are to be implemented in multiple ways. The private and public sectors both have a role to play, and they may be implemented through private development, private-public partnerships, capital improvements, or rezonings. Second, the community area plans are an important component of Charlotte's planning framework, but they're only one of the tools in our toolbox. So we also have specific plans in that toolbox, which could focus on smaller geographies, and they're more implementation focused. So if and when needed, we have the ability to implement even smaller specific plans across the city. And then finally, planning is cyclical. So we plan to monitor and update recent plans. The comprehensive plan, these plans, things like that are intended to be updated every 8 to 10 years. So next, staff is going to share the comments received to date, as well as comments that we've received this evening. All of those are being cataloged, summarized, and responded to individually, identifying which of those comments will warrant potential amendments to the draft plans. All of that information will be shared with Planning Committee on Tuesday. And council has decided to delay their decision on adoption from May 27th to give the public more time to review and comment on the plans. So council decision has tentatively been pushed to June. And I know I said we're sharing comments with planning committee on Tuesday, but that won't be the end of it. We will still be collecting and cataloging comments after that point, and we will reshare any comments that are received after Tuesday with those individuals. So I'll pause there for any questions. I'll open up the floor for comments or concerns. I'm happy to look through the document and find a specific page of interest. Whatever you guys would like to discuss and however best we can use this time. And again, I do apologize for the background noise. We are all in one office, so I hope that's not too loud on your end.
It also introduces heat as a new environmental measure that should be considered.
Well, one of the concerns that I have concern with is the word equitable. Right? I've heard this throughout the plan, but I don't see equity in the plan. So there are resources that are in other parts of the city that are not in other parts of the city. And even though each city has their own, each portion of the city has their own T list.
Mm-hmm.
How is this?
The content. So after these plans get adopted by City Council, the plans are implemented in multiple ways. The private and public sectors, the private and public.
Apologies. Did I lose connection on my end?
I may have lost it on mine.
Public partnerships.
Anne or Suzette, did you all hear the end of that? I apologize.
Community plans are important.
Yes, it is hard to hear though. Because of the background, but I was just waiting for you to respond.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Garrett. Could you repeat the end of that? I heard, you're not seeing the equitable piece of the plans citywide. It's not. You're concerned about the equity.
It's not completely visible to me concerning the equity that is being expressed in the document. I think there's areas that are overdone, and then there are areas where those improvements will be of great good if others of the city are willing to sacrifice their portion so that other portions of the city may be brought up to equitable status.
Okay, understood. Do you have any specific, we're logging and cataloging all comments, like I mentioned, and we will be responding to them. So I'm just really interested in the, specifics of the feedback. So do you have any specific examples or suggestions by chance?
Okay, so currently with transit, right? We're talking about bike lane, to allow trains or whatever that event may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
the did not get to attend this, or if community members have been able to attend,
have been impressed.
Tuesdays and Thursdays available until adoption, where people
can
to speak to us and again kind of walk through these plans, like I would say. We also have more copies of the plans that we have at the library. We had our public hearing this past Monday, and then we
brought to a status as North or South Charlotte.
Before I kind of jumped.
Okay, understood. So dispersing resources to ensure equitable development is achievable citywide,
or even up to the standard of what East is now developed into, where you have eateries, you have to public space, you have greenway, you have all these things are not equitable in each of the areas of the city, but you keep using the word equity, but I haven't seen equity document.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that feedback. That's really helpful. I've noted that comment, and like I said, we will catalog that, and leadership is responding to each comment. So you'll see that online when those are published. But I definitely understand what you're saying in terms of greenways, sewer lines, bike lanes, all of these infrastructure and amenities, resources, things of that sort, don't seem to be reflected equitably citywide. Thank you. I appreciate that comment.
It shows you click on the program guide.
Thank you.
And the appendix. and then it has all the plans listed here.
So Garrick, I appreciate your comment, and I look forward to the city that is can improve and be a beautiful city for all its residents. And Aaron, my question's a bit more mundane and just really practical. I know there's a lot of road work being done in the south outer loop over where the interchange to 485 is, and I happen to live in that particular area right now. And I was just wondering, I know that there must be some sort of detailed planning map for what's supposed to eventually be there, but I'm having trouble finding it. Is that, and I was looking for a link in the mobility area to the plan that is intended, but I didn't see it. Maybe I'm just overlooking it.
Okay, let me look and see. I'll pull up the land document and we can flip through that and just see what area. I just want to make sure I'm zooming in and honing in on what area specifically you're referencing, and then we can see what resources may be available and then what access to those resources you'll have or could have.
Okay.
Mostly.
So it's actually the intersection of McKee and Weddington. So it's way over on the east side of the outer south.
The adopted place type was the community activity center, and the revised place type is neighborhood 2. And I am also going to walk you through what those colors in the map. So yeah, all of these colors here.
But I'm interested really in what the plans are in various places in the city as far as transportation and the development of the infrastructure of roads in particular, trees, that sort of thing. But
yellow is going to be neighborhood 1, so that's going to be primary.
Where the roads are is important.
Absolutely.
How big they are and where the sidewalks are. Those things really impact everybody, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let me just go. I know this map is it's kind of zoomed out, it's higher level. But what area, Anne, are you specifically interested in?
Over to the right, on the right side, McKee Road
place types, just at different levels. So neighborhood
and Weddington.
Walkable mixed use areas typically.
Okay.
Over on the other side. So that's
right
there
here.
you go.
Goods,
yep.
Services.
Okay.
And they're just now, adding an interchange to 485, which has taken forever. My phone keeps trying to take me there. My iPhone keeps trying to take me there all the time, but it's not open yet.
Let me just scroll down a little bit through the plan. Please forgive me. I don't want to make anybody dizzy, but I know you mentioned some maybe mobility information. So I just want to see, we have these strategic investment areas identified in the plan. And again, forgive me, I'm not a mobility expert, but what we really did in these documents was condense the potential projects and programs that our partners have been working on over the years into these geography specific plans. So this was a partnership effort, just to kind of highlight the potential for these areas. So in terms of specifics for that area, I don't know of anything off the top of my head, but I will just say, I know that there is, an activity center in this area, and that can bring, of course, great things, great resources, as well as concerns, and that's definitely understood. So what the South Outer plan did was kind of identify that one area that will likely, provide some interest, to you, given you're in that area. So that would be a good way to kind of flip through the South Outer document and look at that M10 mixed use area and see what the mobility recommendations are around that area, as well as open space recommendations, public or community character recommendations, and aspirations, and then how those aspirations align with the assessment that's provided in these documents.
So again, you can comment on this as well.
And so what page is that on?
So this is on page 40.
And then the M10 would be highlighted.
So the M10, so this is just identifying all of the mixed use places in the community area plan, because that's what we focused on in terms of assessments and recommendations, because they are projected to see the most growth potential in the years to come. And we wanted to kind of hone in on those mixed use areas so that we could preserve the existing character of the residential that's in the area already. So that's kind of where all of the assessments and recommendations and everything fall within, is those mixed use places.
Okay, so there's not any more specific information about M10 other than what is listed at M10 on that.
It'll just be in terms of the plan sections in 10. So it's Weddington Road, I-485, that approximate area. That mixed use area is listed under every section. So you'll find the mobility, please forgive me for scrolling and making everybody dizzy. So in terms of mobility, for example, we've identified the aspirations for these mixed use areas, that Weddington I-485 area being one of the mixed use places. So we've identified aspirational elements for those areas, and then we've conducted, an assessment to determine how those areas align with aspirations or do not align with aspirations. So the intent, in the future is for residents or developers or appointed elected officials to, look to these assessments and say, okay, does this proposed development help to achieve more of these aspirations, and does it help us to align with these aspirations that have been identified in the community area plans?
Thank you. I understand the planning, and that helped a great deal. So most things do not align with the aspiration at M10.
In terms of mobility, yes.
Right.
Yes.
Gotcha.
But there's also, open space and community character. So that's a really, I think, good way to kind of use these plans, as a resident, just to see. And I understand not everybody, may live near one of these mixed use geographies, but it's just kind of a way to gauge how we're doing in those areas. And like I said, I do realize not everyone may live near a mixed use area and be able to hone in as detailed as that, but we did focus on those areas because those mixed use places will probably receive the most growth in the future, and we wanted to focus development there instead of taking away from established neighborhoods and areas.
Understood. And thank you so much for the tutorial. I have not spent enough time looking at these documents to really understand them fully. Thank you.
Of course, and they're complex, so totally, it's completely understandable. And I know everybody is very busy, so we appreciate this kind of, this delay. Now that we have is a really good opportunity for everybody to take more time and review the materials and provide more feedback, and we can have more time to take that feedback into consideration and make any changes that are necessary. So it's a good thing.
Thank you.
So just piggyback on that. All of these are proposals, not actually plans, right?
Correct.
So how is the city serving as watchdog to ensure that their UDO approval of land use, as well as adjusting rezoned areas, is going to meet the requirements of these proposed areas of interest for because if it's not approved and a developer is ready to execute the development plan now, how is the city engaged in safeguarding this proposal?
Yes. So I think, and correct me if I'm not misunderstanding if I'm not understanding your question correctly, please stop me. So I think maybe a good way to answer that is these community area plans are intended to be used in the rezoning process. So we're really hoping to align those efforts. So when a developer does come and proposes a development, the recommendations in these plans and the information in these assessments, it's baked into that process that informs staff's decision to recommend approval or denial of the development to council.
So that'll make it a more mixed use, walkable place over time. And I know it may seem difficult to imagine.
So they could own
now,
proposal
like very
of whatever a
It's kind of- it's
developer
long-term plan that,
puts
helps
forward, and
that,
if it is in alignment idea
transition
of
over
the
time,
M10 possibilities.
those 10-minute neighborhoods and
I'm sorry, Garrett, the first part of that was, I heard if
We
it
spoke
doesn't.
about M10, right?
Correct.
Which is Weddington and 485 Loop. There's a lot of changes on this, right? Now, what if somebody decided that they wanted to put an apartment complex in the mixed use area, right? And that developer is ready to execute that plan right now, and the city is only in proposal stage. How are they watchdogging their proposals to safeguard the mixed use so that it is not overrun by developers, and then there is no greenway in other spaces
over time, as the market,
Yes, so I think I hear what you're saying. Right now, the plans, of course, have not been adopted yet. So the process that has been utilized up to this date is still what we're working with until these plans are adopted. Once they're adopted, hopefully they will help to achieve what you're saying, I think, if I'm understanding correctly. And I apologize if I'm not. And if I'm not understanding correctly, I'm happy to log your comment, and it will be responded to by leadership. So I apologize if I'm misunderstanding.
No, you're not. And I appreciate your restatement because it clarifies exactly what I'm asking. And so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll still note, and I'm definitely still noting your comments, even if we discuss and go back and forth, we'll still catalog them all so that they'll be included in the feedback received, as a whole.
Again, and this is again common across.
Now, the other thing that is interesting is that now with this 1 cent increase in sales tax, right, where they are trying to bring the to life, right? How is that is what the city's developing as their mobility in alignment with what they suggested in this area plan, or is it different from?
It should be the same because we worked with them on the development of it. So the mobility information, the mobility recommendations, the strategic investment area information that is within the documents, that is in alignment with their current, not necessarily approved or not necessarily like happening projects and programs, but the potential projects and programs. All of that information came from mobility partners and working in close coordination with them.
Sorry, yeah.
Is there a chat that came through? No,
Yeah, so this is the.
I'm happy to answer any other questions or concerns.
Oh, so yeah. Sorry, I think
I apologize. I understand the background noise is annoying, and I will take that feedback back to the team as well. We won't do it this way again. But anything else that you all would like to discuss in the time that we have? I'm happy to open the floor up for any additional questions or concerns.
It looks like there is stuff. So a lot of this is the manufacturing logistics.
So this room is the south
section here. When you click on
the south outer,
it'll show you what it is. So the adopted place
south outer
manufacturing and logistics.
Yes.
And it looks like there's
and if you guys are interested in other rooms or other geographies that might intersect with south outer, you are more than welcome to jump to another room. They're going through similar information, just tailored to a different geography. So you're more than welcome to jump to a different room if you're interested.
So for whatever reason, the county acquired this land, and so eventually that will transition to open space. So this place will be preserved, which is a good thing within this area. And then
so Erin,
yes,
if you don't mind,
so
Garrett brings up a great point. So how can I tell from this planning what would be allowed at that new interchange with 485? Like, is there an easy way to get to it from this planning document?
So this planning document is a little bit, I would say, more high level than that. But what you can do is, let me just pull up the map. Bear with me.
Mm-hmm.
in terms of future land use and, you know, what is recommended for future development. That's what we look to in terms of, you know, the rezoning process and anything that's coming in the future. So that's where the 2040 policy map comes in. So I'll pull that over to the screen here and navigate to South Outer. So the 2040 policy map outlines the future place types for the city. And those are, you know, those, you know, land use patterns that we recommend for future growth. And I'm happy to drop this link in the chat if you guys would like to, you know, sift through it. But what you can do is you can zoom into a particular area of interest and you can see what place type is recommended on the site. And that will inform future development. So if a parcel is a, you know, lighter orange color, for example, that's recommended for neighborhood 2. And that's, you know, your multifamily, you know, dwelling, your, you know, higher intensity residential uses. It's not your single family, it's more of your apartment uses like that. And that is what this parcel is recommended for in the future. So that's kind of a way for you to see like what is potential to come, but it's not guaranteed, of course.
I'm sorry, can you say that? I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time? That parcel is designated to be what?
Yeah. So
neighborhood 2.
Neighborhood
So,
2.
yes.
So neighborhood 2.
It's saying
Right. So this is now open land right now. Owned by whom?
Should expect to see.
So it's not like I don't have that information on this map. I'm happy to look that up and I can I can get that information to you.
Because the concern is if the land is not owned by the city, right? And it's owned by an individual developer, then they have the choice of putting wherever they choose to put there. Not necessarily what the city designates.
They have to fall within the zoning guidelines. So whatever this parcel is zoned, they have to stay within that recommendation. So it may not be a zoning recommendation for neighborhood 2 right now, but if they were to develop it other than what it is zoned for, they would need to stay within, or they would be recommended to stay within the guidelines of what's on the policy map, if that makes sense. So they have entitlements by right, yes. So if that is not zoned for apartments or multifamily development or whatever it may be at the moment, they can develop it by right as whatever it is zoned for. However, if they choose to stray from that zoning, they are encouraged to look to this recommended future land use for that future development, because there has been a lot of assessment and methodology and work put into guiding this growth. So again, it is ultimately staff makes a recommendation, you know, for approval or denial based on that information, and the vote is ultimately council's, but that is the hope and the intention of the future land use. So again, this would just be a good resource, and I can drop it in the chat for you all, but it would be a good resource if you were interested in, you know, what could or could not be built in the future in my area or in my neighborhood or on this particular street.
Shows the goals for that. We have this map.
Can you show me how to make an appointment for a Zoom with you on Tuesdays or Thursdays so I can bring up concerns?
Absolutely. So what you can do is you can sign up for our office hours. Let me pull that link for you.
Now, some of these will happen as development occurs. So when a new development goes in place, like if the developer is going to build apartments, they have to build, they have to build the sidewalk or the bike, whatever's planned for this map.
Or honestly, Garrick, if you would like me to go ahead and sign you up, I'm more than happy to do that right now. Honestly, if that's easier for you.
No, because I don't have my schedule in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries.
This map shows that.
I will get that link for you.
Private sector will help improve those. But in addition to that, the city also has a bicycle program, a sidewalk program, an additional and a strategic investment area.
And while I'm pulling that link for Garrick, and is the policy map a helpful resource for you in terms of what could or could not be developed in the future?
Yes, please. If you don't mind I'm on the
and, like,
Charlotte, is it on plan
where those things
document,
were
under
done.
plan
So if there's
document?
one area.
I dropped a link in the chat.
Okay,
Were you able to access it via that link? If not, I can pull a different one for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it came up, thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Of course.
Yeah.
Garrick, I'm pulling that for you. I had my email closed because my computer is running slow. So let me just pull that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that there's a way
Yeah,
in the
absolutely.
2040
Yeah.
plan to go website to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that,
Yes.
yeah, that might be one area that you comment on. Yeah. And again, there's the other programs.
Bear with me. Everything is running very
Like I said,
slow.
so I'm in the planning department, but those departments, there's other ways that you can request. And I think
While I'm pulling that, is there any other additional questions that you all may have at this time?
Yeah. Try to like help build a case for why you need those things.
I don't think
In the
so.
appendix.
I'm having trouble getting the
Here it
legend.
shows
I
that and other
guess I
programs
just
that
haven't. Oh, there it is.
reference
Okay, I found it.
Yeah, I think the main issue with this is that we have several different documents that we have to go through in order to figure out exactly
Yep, correct.
what
And so,
is being developed in our area.
yeah,
So it's
you
like
you
it's
have-
not
so city
one
council
easy
has
location to
decided
go and find
adopt these
everything that we
plans
need.
sometime in June.
So that
you
is
can
concerning
Put your comments in, and if you have other neighbors.
because you
Absolutely.
have made it such high level
The more
that
comments we see on
our
this, the better.
seniors probably wouldn't understand how
more
to
people
navigate to most of
see it
these
and,
places that you have me
it
going
gets
to
more, we
on
want
the
more into it,
computer.
So,
Understood
yeah,
completely.
if you go in before the end of May, then
To that point, and I know this doesn't resolve everything. Well, first, Garrett, I'll say I did post that sign up link for those office hours in the chat. So please, we would love to have you at one of our office hours in the coming weeks. And to your point about, accessibility and complexity, it is complex information. And no, I agree, it's not necessarily accessible to all. One not helpful solution overall, but one potential helpful solution is we are willing and able to print some of these documents in hard copy form. So if you do have residents in mind that you think would like to look through a hard copy, more than happy to print those for you. And again, I know that doesn't solve all of the issues in terms of accessibility, but if it does alleviate some of that concern for anybody in particular, we're more than happy to do that.
And Aaron had indicated that I was on another one earlier last hour.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Somebody
So,
said that you could pick
so
up a
this
copy at the
this
library.
revised
So
policy
do you
Yes.
go in and just request it and then they print out your
this
section?
shows the
Or?
current changes.
So we have dropped off a draft plan or two at libraries throughout the city, and it's really just for reference. So we have asked that residents don't take them, but if you wanted to access them at the library, a hard copy version, you could go and kind of flip through it there. But we aren't really we don't have them available for checkout. However, if like I said, if you guys do want copies requested, we would just ask that you email Charlotte Future 2040 at field.
Yeah, there's not
sorry.
and so this happened between
I'll put it in the chat, it'll be easier. But if you email us, we are more than happy to accommodate as many copies as you need.
all of this.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the tutorial.
Of course. And again, I definitely understand that it's complex, and I have noted your comments and concerns. And I know I don't have all of the answers, but they will be cataloged and responded to by leadership, and that information will be published online so that you can at least see how your feedback was received and if and where it warrants changes in the plan document.
Okay. One thing I'd like added to those comments is if there's any way to make a link or a connection between the 2040 plan and the actual road plans, how roads are going to be developed? Because I have seen that plan before in some of these
Yeah, if
meetings,
adopted, the policy.
but I just can't
the
find
policy
it
number would
now.
go into effect,
People pull
but
things up in
the
these
map would
meetings
go
and
into effect
they're
right away.
great
So,
information, but I
That
didn't,
means that any.
take a screenshot of it. And so I can't find it again.
Will.
I may be able to help. Are you referring, do you think, to the Charlotte Streets map?
Yes, probably. Where would I find that?
I can drop that link in the chat as well.
That'd be great.
Future decision-making process, but they're not saying that this is.
And you are it's completely fair. There are a ton of resources, which is great and also hard at the same time. Definitely understand.
This will provide guidance for city council and city makers, but it's not, it's kind of a plan, but not an implementation plan.
Now, this plan also includes information concerning the expansion of the transit centers or the transit services, whether it is to Belmont or Davidson or those areas as well, or is this just the Charlotte inner outer circle?
This is just the city of Charlotte. Yes.
Okay.
The inner.
Yes. Okay. So this is on each of the plans. So if you're on this website, so again, the website you want to remember is
it's a streets map. So it tells you what's going to be a future avenue, what's going to be a boulevard. So I guess I have a follow-up question. Where's the definition and description of those assignments? Is there another place? Like, is there?
Let me look and see. I'm not, again, a mobility expert, but they may, our mobility partners may have outlined that in the plans themselves. Yes, they did. Page 34 of the document outlines the definitions of the parkways, boulevards, avenues, things of that sort that are in the street map.
Okay, so that goes back to the
community area plan. Yes.
Okay.
So we have
yes. So it's all connected. We worked really closely with our partners. So that's CDOT, Park and Rec, sustainability, urban design, to pull their potential projects and programs and things that they've already created into this kind of one-stop shop document that's geography specific. So the intent was that a South Outer resident could, grab this plan and, be able to access potential projects and programs and resources for their area. So again, the long range planners are not the subject matter experts on the entire document, but we worked closely with our partners to make sure that their information was reflected in the document, so that it could be a resource for the geography as a whole.
So you said that those descriptions of those streets, the type of streets are in the area plan guide?
They're in the South Outer Community Area Plan on page 34.
34.
So those are the same projections that were as far as I'm aware. The same projections that we did for that, because it was just 2 years ago. It was just,
oh yeah,
we ended our policy project.
Okay,
and immediately jumped.
Very good. I think I've absorbed enough tonight. I need to do my homework.
It is a lot to absorb. It's complex, absolutely. But again, like Garrick and I were chatting about a moment ago, we are more than happy to have you all attend office hours. We'll be hosting those the next few weeks, and that's more of a one-on-one. Honestly, this has been a small group, so very similar to this, but with more staff members. And we can answer any questions or concerns you may have. We're happy to come to a community meeting. So feel free to email us and request us attend a meeting that you are having in your neighborhood. If you just want to set up another Zoom call and chat with staff one-on-one, we're more than happy to accommodate as many ways to connect as we can, because we do understand it's complex.
Is to try to focus them into our.
And this has been a long time coming. What do you think the chances of it passing in June?
I'm hopeful. I think there's definitely some tweaks to be made and lessons learned for sure, but I'm hopeful.
Okay.
And so the goal is to.
Well, it will
move that
certainly
road
streamline
that's
the
coming to
rezoning or the
center
change of
area
plan use
and
process,
preserve the
which I think
one and
is a
yellow
good
area.
thing, but
Yes,
we still need watchdogs.
yes,
So get your team
understood,
out.
understood, yes.
And see that is a significant issue and concern because the 2030 plan, right? Um, a lot of the same issues that are being brought up now are of concern in the 2040 plan that were never resolved in the 2030 plan. So I find it interesting that you're just kicking the ball down the street instead of trying to resolve the concerns.
Yes,
I don't know.
I hear your concern. I do, and I am noting it. I wish I had all the answers as staff. I don't at this moment, but I definitely hear your concern, and you're not the only one that's expressed that concern. So I will note that comment and make sure the leadership.
Of all the plans. So that.
Yeah, because we're what 5 years from
different
achieving the
programs
2030 plan
offers in
or
regards to
seeing
housing,
seeing some of the
services, open space and
results of the
environmental
2030 work,
and
but yet and
neighborhood
still
So these are programs that the city has in place right now.
mobility
that
in the
residents can
West
refer to,
corridor is still
to do
lacking.
different things. And there's
Access
a
to
not an expert on all of
various
these, so,
venues
I can't
is
totally speak
still
to everything,
lacking.
but like for example,
There is
on
no
your property, there's some guidance around that.
there's
if
a
someone
huge
wants to
concern
apply for
about
housing trust funds to build
displacement
affordable housing, there's information on
with
that.
all these new people coming
There's
in.
programs for
What about the
youth
people who are already here? You're accommodating for the new people, but
yeah,
you're
we have
slowly
a lot
pushing the ones of us who have been
in
here the
place
longest
that
out.
are
And
like
I don't
working
like
towards
that. I
those
don't
goals that we
appreciate
wanna
that.
achieve.
And
Same
I
for,
don't think
open
that
space
the city is doing a great job
this is a
of
really great tool.
making me feel comfortable of living in Charlotte on long term. If you want me to be a New Yorker where I come in, I hold on to a property until it becomes $1 million and then I sell it for 3.5, I definitely can do that. That's not an issue for me. Right? I can drive your market as high as I want. As high as any New Yorker moving from New Yorker will buy my property for, right?
And
So that's my
separate
concern is that every accommodation is being made for the future, but there's no accommodation being made for the present.
City projects that are
Understood. I definitely hear your concerns, and they're more than valid. And like I said, you're not the only one that has expressed them. So, I don't have a golden answer for you at this time. But the best thing I think that I can do at this moment is catalog your concerns and make sure they are shared with leadership and responded to. And really look forward to having you in one of our office hour sessions because our manager attends all of those. And I think it would be beneficial to, have a conversation with her as well. And you can express your concerns to her because she has more full insight and, might be able to provide a little bit more than I can for you at this moment. But I sincerely appreciate you expressing your concerns. And I apologize. I don't have more to offer you at this moment.
I don't expect you to have all the answers, but what I did expect is a little more information concerning the shifts and the changes that are happening in this environment that are changing the 2040 plan as we speak right now. Because if we're trying to hold on to this 2040 plan, but we're not following it with the influx of the income that we're requesting from the state level, then this is a moot point. Because if the 2040 plan is not going to be implemented in driving what happens currently to reach the 2040 plan, then we're doing ourselves a disservice. We're talking in circles for no reason.
Understood.
Specific details.
So, but I thank you for your time. I thank you for your energy. Like I said, the document is cumbersome. So, you want people to make comments on the document, but we've got to go to 19 places to confirm wherever our comment is about to go, so we all don't look dumb with our comment. Because if he had just went over to this portion of the slide, he would have saw that this land use is for this, and right, that would make my comment mute.
So understood. Like I said, I'll log them and catalog them. And, you know, if we have office hours with you, which I hope we do, you know, we can also make those comments, you know, wherever applicable in the plan as well. So they will be heard is my hope and my intention.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys joining us this evening. I think we're about at time, but again, if there's any last minute questions or concerns, I'm happy to take those. Otherwise, it's been great chatting with you and really appreciate you spending a Thursday evening with us this evening.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Erin.
Yeah. So
thank you guys.
Yes, thank you.